Harp on Sports, the bar. Harp on Sports podcast, audio, media, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports, Twitter at Harp on Sports, Instagram, Harp on Sports, the Facebook page, harponsports.com, and Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel. What do we have in store for you? Golf's gift. You can't replicate this stuff. You can't. When you get a gift, you open it. Canton's call out. Adam Vinatieri retiring. What a Hall of Fame class we have for this 2026 class that we will explore. And also a little relocation rankings. The Timberwolves find themselves at a crossroads where now your minority owner is suing, filing an injunction to block new ownership led by Alex Rodriguez. Pretty good reason why, because that franchise is going to move. So we're going to look at relocation rankings. I'm going to tell you the next 5 franchises in professional sports that are going to move and where they're going to move to. So that's what we're going to look at. First, starting off with golf's gift. I'm a firm believer that if you receive a gift in life, you better take full advantage of that thing. If you're born into a wealthy family, don't screw it up. If you're born into the Kennedy family, the Bush family, if you're born into a big-time family, don't screw it up. If you've been given a gift, if you're a fantastic operatic singer, if you throw a ball 97 miles an hour, you owe it to that talent to explore that gift. In other words, if you're a fantastic operatic singer, if you're a fantastic musician, if you just have that skill set, but you don't want to do that thing because it doesn't make you happy, it doesn't matter. You do that thing because that's the gift that you were bestowed. And golf's been given a gift. This Brooks Koepka-Dechambeau feud, rivalry, whatever you want to call it, golf, you have been given something that you have been begging for since Tiger Woods started his decline about a decade ago. Golf, you've been given a gift. You can't fake chemistry. You can't fake animosity. Either it exists or it doesn't. And guess what? It exists here. Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka don't like each other. At least Brooks Koepka doesn't like him. If you're golf, you've got 2 things to do here. You've got 1 of 2 decisions. In the prim and proper, golf of the 70s and 80s, and maybe even in the 90s, would have tried to diffuse this, would have tried to, but you've got people that are interested. That dominated the narrative today. The NFL salary cap numbers came out. New information coming out on one NBA franchise, the Lakers winning game 2 of their series with Phoenix. You have all these storylines going on, and a golf story became the number 1 sports story in America for an entire day. Golf, you've got 2 choices. Either you throw a wet blanket on this thing, or you lean into it. Golf should lean into this. How do you lean into it? This is how you lean into it. You have the U.S. Open coming up at Torrey Pines, right? Golf has the U.S. Open coming up at Torrey Pines. You have a golfer, Brooks Koepka, who's been the best golfer in the world the last 5 years. 4 or 5 years. He doesn't like Bryson DeChambeau, who hits the ball 400 yards on drives. So you've got these 2 guys that don't like each other. DeChambeau won the U.S. Open last year, so he's defending his title. Koepka's the defending PGA champion, or not, I should say that's Mickelson, is the defending PGA championship. Koepka missed an entire year last year, but has won the U.S. Open, twice? He won it twice? So you've got U.S. Open winners just sitting there. Well, this is what you do. If you're about to find out if golf realizes the opportunity that they have. Because if you're golf, you know what you do? You pair them. And it's funny because you think about guys that are lightning rods in this sport, good or bad. You've got people that Phil Mickelson's just an attractive, magnetic guy. But then you have guys that Americans don't like. Americans don't like Ian Poulter. Why? Because Ian Poulter destroys and owns America in the Ryder Cup. Ian Poulter owns America in the Ryder Cup. Never won a major, but owns America in the Ryder Cup. So if I were the U.S. Open, I'd sit around and go, we've got an American in Brooks Koepka. He doesn't like Bryson DeChambeau. And Ian Poulter, Americans don't like him. Let's put these three together. And I know the thought process is, well, you separate them so that way there's interest throughout the day. Golf so much sat around in the late 90s and early 2000s hoping that Phil and Tiger would be in the final pairing, hoping that they would be in the final pairing on Sunday. They even created a manufactured event for TV. Remember the Battle of Bighorn where they had David Duval and Tiger Woods play together under the lights because they couldn't get them together in a major. Not in the final pairing. They couldn't get them together. So what do you do here? This is simple. If you're the U.S. Open, you are insane. If you're the United States Golf Association, you're insane if you don't take Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, and Ian Poulter and put them together. You can take Phil Mickelson, stick him with Ricky Fowler. There's other things that you can do. But the first 2 days, you want to create and manufacture some stuff. Well, what if they end up together? It will ruin the specialness of it. Oh, we'll worry about Saturday and Sunday when it gets there. Were we worried about who'd Mickelson even? I'm trying to think who Mickelson was with the first 2 days. If you don't have it, create it. And you've been given a gift. Golf, you've been given a gift. Don't blow this. These two don't like each other. So much so that you have other professional athletes becoming involved with this. Aaron Rodgers is involved with it. Tom Brady's involved with it. The entire sports world is involved with two guys that had nothing to do with each other in the last major. This isn't one of these things where Bryson DeChambeau beat Brooks Koepka or Brooks Koepka beat Bryson DeChambeau. So they just don't like each other. Or at least Brooks Koepka doesn't like him. And the tweets going back and forth with Koepka apologizing to Aaron Rodgers because he has to play. Or Brooks Koepka apologizing. Hey, man, sorry, man. Sorry you have to play with this guy. And Brady coming out and firing off a meme about the Packers. It's absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious about kicking field goals up or down 7. This is just funny. And DeChambeau coming out and saying, Brooks Koepka, I'm living rent-free in your head, which is true. Bryson DeChambeau is in Brooks Koepka's head, which is hilarious. And then circling it around, Bryson DeChambeau going after Tom Brady about deflating footballs from 6-7 years ago. This is great. This is fun. No, but this isn't somebody threatening to kill somebody. This isn't everybody. I want sports. I don't like drama. Then you're boring. I love this stuff. Golf just got interesting on Thursday and Friday. Saturday and Sunday take care of themselves. Thursday and Friday don't. Golf, be smart. You've been given a gift. This is no different. Look, this is the truth. Golf, you've been given a gift. DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka. Instant dynamic. How is this any different than the NBA putting the Lakers against the Nets on Christmas? How is this any different than the NBA sitting around going, let's get the Celtics and the 76ers together on Christmas? How is this any different than the NFL sitting around going, you know what? How about we get the Buccaneers in New England in a primetime game in October? It's no different. The NFL puts teams together and puts them on a schedule. Golf put golfers together and put them on a schedule. This whole thing, we want it to happen naturally. Sometimes you have to force the issue. You do. Golf, you've been given a gift. Don't squander it. If you're extremely good looking, you should be a model. If you throw a fastball 98 miles an hour, you should be a baseball player. If you can sing, you should be a musician. If you can play an instrument, you should be a musician. If you're really fast, you should be in track and field. All of these things are true. Goodwill Hunting it. Goodwill Hunting it. Well, it doesn't make me happy. Doesn't matter. You owe it to your talent, golf. Don't waste this gift. Do not waste it. So there we go. Think about that. Golf dominating a narrative here as we get ready to head into Memorial Day or Memorial Day weekend. When's the last time you said that? Golf, you've wanted your chance. You've been wondering about what life is like after Tiger Woods. Phil Mickelson this past weekend was able to give you a big nudge. And here's Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau holding their hands out. Take the hand. Take it. If those two aren't together on Thursday and Friday of the U.S. Open, you're fools. You're fools. Something that took place today, and I think it's a cinch, isn't it? Adam Vinatieri retiring after 24 years in the league. You know, to go through and look at all the greatest Hall of Fame classes of all time, the first one's usually the best one, and because you have so many guys that can go in, I stopped for a second and thought, whoa, wait a second here. Who's going in? Who's going to go in 5 years? Do you know all the guys that have retired this year? I don't even think you need to do any work. Whoever's voting for football's Hall of Fame in Canton for the 2026 campaign, 5 years from now, you have the easiest job in the world. You do. Here's who's eligible. Here's who retired this year. I'm not even talking about people that are going to be still left over from previous classes. 5 years from now, when sports writers get together and debate who should be in the Hall of Fame and who shouldn't, Breeze, Vinatieri, those two are locks, right? Breeze and Vinatieri, those two are locks. And then you sit there for a second and go, wait a second, Breeze and Vinatieri are locks. Jason Witten's been to 11 Pro Bowls as a tight end. Isn't he a lock? If you go to double-digit Pro Bowls, aren't you a Hall of Famer? I think so. So Breeze, Vinatieri, Jason Witten, lock. Phillip Rivers, lock. Marquise Pouncey of the Steelers went to 9 Pro Bowls. Isn't that a lock? Isn't the Hall of Fame done? If there is a more signed, sealed, delivered Hall of Fame class than the one that we have right now, I'd love to see it. And you sit around and you wonder, like, Frank Gore's coming back for another year, right? If Frank Gore would retire, you're going to have, oh boy. This is where if you're football, and everybody loves drama. It's like, oh, they're going to have a mess on their hands. Leagues love messes. It's attention. Messes like this. They don't like messes that are scandals. See Ray Rice, Jerry Sandusky, not that type of mess. But any mess that leads you to debate where nobody gets hurt. Sports leagues love that stuff. Love that stuff. Controversial calls. Love that stuff. You don't want the Sandusky Penn State stuff. You don't want the Ray Rice stuff. You don't want the Tim Donaghy stuff, the rigging. You don't want stuff like that. But anything that brings eyeballs and earlobes, you want it. Football. Canton call out. Is it the greatest class? Is it the easiest class ever? Imagine sitting around and having this debate. All right. Class of 2026 Hall of Fame football. Let's go. We got Drew Brees, Adam Vinatieri. Okay, there we go. Oh, Jason Witten's been to 11 Pro Bowls as a tight end. Oh, no tight end's ever been to more? Okay. Oh, Tony Gonzalez? Okay. Well, then he's in. All right, Jason Witten's in. That's 3. Well, wait a second. Phillip Rivers? Okay, Phillip Rivers is in. I guess that's 4. Anybody else? Oh, Marquise Pouncey. 9 Pro Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, is he in? I don't know if he's in or not. What, 9 Pro Bowls? Okay. Well, we got to have a debate here. When your debate is a guy that's been to 9 Pro Bowls? If you're an offensive lineman and you almost go to double-digit Pro Bowls, isn't that a checkmate? Now, who knows who will still be eligible when we roll around 5 years from now? But it's a good thing nobody else of significance retired. And look, Alex Smith retired. There's guys I'm leaving off this list, right? Alex Smith retired. Greg Olson retired. I don't know if those guys are real Hall of Famers, but if anybody would come out after training camp and go, you know what, I'm done. That's enough. This is a career. Like if Larry Fitzgerald would come out and say, okay, I'm done. Oh, boy. If Frank Gore would come out and say, yeah, you know what, I've decided I'm not going to play this year. I'm going to run out of room. So Canton call out maybe the easiest Hall of Fame class you've ever had. And I wanted to finish with this because I think this is one of these things that I enjoy. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, but I do. I love the relocation of teams in sports. I don't know what it is. I always loved trades when I was young. I love baseball trades. Maybe that goes back to trading baseball cards when I was a kid. But I love trades. I love movement. I do. I think it's fun. When I was a kid, I thought it was so interesting that Oakland moved to Los Angeles and then Los Angeles moved back to Oakland. I love stadiums and old stadiums and new stadiums, and I just think it's neat. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I love. I love relocation. It's ridiculous, right? But when the St. Louis Cardinals became the Arizona Cardinals, I thought that was neat. When the Los Angeles Rams became the St. Louis Rams, I thought that was neat. Vice versa. Now, if you live in that city, that's no fun. There's some of them that I didn't like. I mean, you look back on it, and I thought relocation like that's okay. But I didn't necessarily like, you look back, Quebec becoming the Colorado Avalanche, and there's just certain ones that the Winnipeg Jets, they become the Phoenix Coyotes. They're just some that's like, the Hartford Whalers going away. Look, some of these things, I get it. Some of them aren't much fun, but some of them are. Not a big fan of the Seattle Sonics becoming Oklahoma City. Some of them you're like, I don't know about this. I don't know. But if your franchise isn't any good and you never win in the city that you're in, give somebody else a shot at it. Is there a franchise that's been worse the last 15 years than the Minnesota Timberwolves? Has there? They're not any good. And you haven't been good for 15, 20 years. Maybe your fan base doesn't throw enough of a fit, isn't angry enough. I mean, Lakers fans, if the Lakers aren't any good, they bail. They lose their minds. Isn't that a good thing? Shouldn't your fan base hold your organization to a high standard? Shouldn't they? Not a ridiculous high standard. Not we need to win a title every year or we're going to throw a fit, Alabama Nick Saban standard, right? But shouldn't you hold them to a high standard? And I was sitting here looking now that one of the minority owners of the Timberwolves is suing because he doesn't want the Alex Rodriguez group to buy the team. Why? Because part of the contract doesn't stipulate that they have to stay in Minneapolis. What does that mean? That means Alex Rodriguez and his new ownership group is moving that franchise. You better believe it, baby. Where are they going to go? They're going to go one of two places. I would love to see him in Seattle. Would love to see him in Seattle. I'd love to see the Timberwolves move to Seattle. But if they don't go to Seattle, they're going to Vegas. They're going to one of those two places. Vegas will have 4 professional sports teams within 5 years. They will. Las Vegas is going to have 4 professional sports teams within 5 years. Raiders are just the beginning. I already have the hockey team, right? I already have the hockey team. Just need basketball, baseball. That's going to happen. It may not even be 5 years. It may be 2 or 3. This is what's going to happen. If they lose this lawsuit, the Timberwolves are moving. They're going to move. Seattle or Vegas. Relocation rankings. They're moving. If it's not in the contract that I have to keep the team there, I'm moving it. Minneapolis is a top 10 market. I know. But Vegas, those rules don't apply. Market rankings, they don't apply to Vegas. Vegas is its own island. So if I had to make a prediction, I would say the Timberwolves are going to Vegas. Relocation ranking number 2, I would say the A's are going to Vegas. There's no way they're going to get that done. There's no way they're going to get that deal done in Oakland. No way. They've been trying for a decade. And if you're Vegas, you're going to sit around and say, who wants to come here, Rays or A's? It's going to end up being the A's. So the A's are going to end up in Vegas. Timberwolves, Vegas. Rays, Vegas. Although I would love, or A's, Vegas. I would love to see Minneapolis. I'd love to see the Timberwolves go to Seattle. Don't know if that's going to happen. So those are the big two that are going to fall. Then what? Then you start to look around at other sports. Is anybody interested in moving in hockey? Is anything going to happen? Well, the Florida Panthers made the playoffs this year. Is that any bigger? Because where are you going to move them to? That just did. What city in America has the populace that host a hockey team or have a hockey team? Milwaukee's 1-1. That's too much speculation, though. So we're on to the third team. The third team, in terms of the relocation rankings, the Rays are going to move. The question is, are the Rays going to end up in Orlando or are the Rays going to end up in Nashville? The Rays are going to move. Orlando or Nashville? I think Nashville. I went through and looked at the numbers in terms of attendance. In terms of cities, number one minor league city attendance, Las Vegas. Las Vegas, number one in baseball in terms of minor league city attendance. They're getting a professional team. That's going to be the A's. And then the Rays, when they figure where they're going to go, Nashville's number 3 on the list in terms of city populace in attendance. So we've got it in there that fans will go to the games. So if you're the Rays, you're like, wait a second here. Nashville. Nashville's going to get a baseball team. So relocation rankings in the next 5-6 years. Within the next 2 years, Timberwolves are going to end up in Vegas. A's are going to end up in Vegas. Those are the first two. The Rays are going to end up in Orlando or Nashville, and I think they end up in Nashville. Then where do you go after that? Well, then you start to look around at other teams. Who needs a new arena in sports? Who needs a new arena in football? The Jaguars. I don't see any NFL team moving for a while. I don't. Everybody keeps pointing to the Jaguars. As long as Shad Khan owns the Jaguars, they're not going anywhere. They're not. And Trevor Lawrence, this just keeps him in Jacksonville. It does. It does. Who else? I look around, new stadium, Buffalo, as they try to build a new stadium, trying to keep up financially. The question is, when does Roger Goodell and the NFL step in and say, all right, we need new stuff, new stadium here, new thing here, or we're gonna force you to sell it, which they can do. You own the team, but it's a privilege to be in the league. They get to pick and choose. Those are the big three in terms of relocation rankings. If I had to pick anybody else to move, oh boy. I mean, you're always going to lean on hockey, right? Always going to lean on hockey. Think about teams in the NBA that are struggling attendance-wise. The thing is, so many teams that were bad are good again. So in terms of interest, they just build a new arena with the Magic move. Orlando's growing, though. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not. Yeah, cities like San Antonio want teams, and Charlotte want teams. These cities want teams. They'll build a new stadium. You better build a new stadium, or they'll build one for you. So those are my big three. Again, relocation rankings. Timberwolves are going to move. They're going to end up in Vegas. I think the A's are going to end up in Vegas. You're going to have 4 professional teams there, and then if I had to pick one down the road, I think the Rays end up in Orlando or Nashville. And then baseball will expand to 32. That'll happen, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, that's where we are. All right, Harp on Sports, the bar, Harp on Sports, podcast, audio, media, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports, Twitter, at Harp on Sports, Instagram, harponsports.com, Harp on Sports YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout. You can check out all our podcasts there as well. So there you go. Again, a little golf's gift, DeChambeau. Oh, don't screw up this DeChambeau Koepka thing. Get them together for the first 2 days of the U.S. Open. Don't be fools. Don't waste this opportunity. Can't call out 5 locks for the Hall of Fame. Guys that are retired. The 5 guys that are retired this year are locks. Canton's job's easy. And a little relocation rankings. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.